This was one of my childhood hobbies, and after I got divorced, I started to indulge in a lot of them. I decided to make an HO scale railroad, but I didn't want it to be just your average railroad, so the section you see here, I recreated a lot of the scenes from the old Universal Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman movies. And you can see individual scenes recreated here. The little girl who gets drowned by the monster, the festival of the new wine going on from Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, the castle, the watchtower, all that stuff. You just keep looking. Somebody's robbing a grave. See the corpse in the wagon? They're building the bride. There's a female corpse in there, as you can tell. And then over here on the right, this is the Lost World. And it's up on the plateau with dinosaurs. I have a tar pit here that I actually took a tin can and I scooped out some tar from the La Brea tar pits to make my tar pit authentic. Then over here is the kind of traditional railroad area, except it's under attack by Godzilla, and Ultraman is over in the back there ready to save the day. This is the Allosaurus hand that we used in our first movie, Dinosaur Valley Girls. And I wore it in that film. There was a scene where the Allosaurus rips the cave girl's top off, and she insisted that it would be a closed set, and I could be one of the only people on the set. So I was the one who got drafted into being the Allosaurus, and it was a fun scene to do, actually. Starting to fall apart now. It's getting kind of old. All my dinosaurs work for scale in my films. Latest to be featured in Blood Scarab, which is the latest movie we did. This was made by John Buechler, who did a lot of, he directed, I think, one of the Freddy movies, one of the Friday the 13th movies, those Troll movies. He's done a lot of things. He just recently did a remake of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So this is Hatshepsut the Mummy. This is a big poster from the serial Adam-Man vs. Superman that was made by Columbia Pictures in 1950. I was real lucky because when I was living in Chicago in the early 1960s, we found a place in Tennessee that you could buy posters like this for very little money. I got this poster for $1.45. And all these posters you see on the wall from Batman and Captain Marvel and Captain America and Superman, I got these all for about 50 cents a piece back in the early 1960s. They sent us so much stuff that we actually sent most of it back because we couldn't afford the $20 or whatever invoice they sent. So all these I got many years ago. Now they're worth, of course, a fortune. And it didn't cost me very much at all. I got a lot of autographed photos of old horror film actors, most of whom are dead now, but they're all over the house, and this is the room I have of most of my Universal stars photos, like Glenn Strange and Boris Karloff and Lon Chaney Jr. and John Carradine and Nelson Lanchester, Vincent Price, Basil Rathbone, and yada yada yada, etc., etc., etc. And I'm running out of wall space. That's the only problem. So this is my wall of autographed photos of famous TV horror hosts. Now you notice there's a blank spot over there. That blank spot is waiting for Carlos Borloff's autograph photo to go. So that's where that's going to go. Well, this Ghost of Frankenstein original one-sheet poster, I bought that about 40 years ago for $2. Frankenstein, which was based on the 1950s comic book series, was done by Roger Dickens, who built the chestburster in the original Alien movie and did all the special effects in The Land that Time Forgot. I'm proud to say is my Demolished Building Award that I got at G-Fest when I was the guest in 2007 at G-Fest, and they gave me that, and I'm very proud to have that. And then that same year I won the Rondo Award, and so that was my big year for, I guess, for winning awards. This is a cast of an Allosaurus skull, which was basically the T-Rex of the Jurassic period. This is a sculpture of a Lystrosaurus, which is a little reptile that was discovered on several different continents, which proved that was one of the elements of proving the theory of plate tectonics, that the continents were all together at one. Copy of one of the Waterhouse Hawkins iguanodons that were made in the early 1800s. That's the way they thought dinosaurs looked back then. That was based on a tooth and a couple of bones, and it's mostly imagination. That painting up there was done by Jim Danforth, the special effects stop motion animator. This is done by Scott Shaw, famous cartoonist. This is done by Bill Stout, a very famous artist. And the one below it was done by my friend Pete Von Schally for our first Dinosaur Tracks album. And Pete and I are like music partners. We do a lot of projects together, including playing rock and roll. All this art here was done by Charles R. Knight, who from the late 1800s till the middle 1950s, when he died, was considered the top illustrator of prehistoric life. Now that painting is one of my most prized and probably valuable possessions. It was done by Archibald M. Willard, who was very famous for doing the Spirit of 76. The three guys in the Revolutionary War, one's holding a flag, one's playing a drum, and one's playing a fife. But he also did this painting in the early 1830s. This is, as far as I can determine, the very first painting ever done in North America of dinosaurs, or any Mesozoic reptiles for that matter. It's also on the list of his missing artworks. So I have a real prize here, and I won't tell you what I paid for it. So this is historically important on several levels, but to me it's also the pride of ownership having this. This is a cast of a Tyrannosaurus Rex skull. When I got this was the biggest complete skull of a T-Rex that had ever been found. Now there's been several that have been larger. Here is a cast of the brain. So look at the difference between this brain and the size of the head. So you can imagine how smart these guys were. We're in my den now, and all these mechanical things that you see here moving around were part of an attraction at the 1933 Chicago World's Fair. You went into a big dome, and there's a mock-up over there. You went into this dome, and you were on a moving sidewalk, and it took you past all these mechanical creatures, which in 1933 were considered state-of-the-art. So these are the forerunners to the things you see at Disneyland and, you know, museum exhibits and everything today. And the reason for the gorilla head was because the fair was in 1933, and that was the year King Kong came out. So they were trying to capitalize on the gorilla, on King Kong. These two bears were giant cave bears from the Ice Age, and these are again part of that exhibit from the World's Fair. The exhibit was called The World a Million Years Ago, and it toured all over after that 1933 World's Fair. It appeared at the 1939 World's Fair, and then it played all kinds of events up until the 1970s. Here's some of the stuff I've written. All this stuff over here, I mean, some of these I only have, you know, a chapter of stories in. And then over here, these are all my bound TV scripts, mostly animated shows, you know, like the Transformers and Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. I wrote all these things down here. All 3 levels. There's bound comic books, there's everything. And then in here, these are all the movies I made and documentaries and things that I wrote or appeared in or whatever. Over here are all my magazine articles that I wrote, all bound together. The computer's kind of old already, but you know, it gets the job done. Everybody's always saying my computer is a dinosaur, but it's fine for me, you know. And this is where it all happened.